Hello, welcome to the One Life Church devotional series where we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Well, today's chapters are Ezekiel 16 and 17. Now, I am in the infamous District 6 neighborhood right now. You can see the homeless people behind me. You can see this piece of land, this field, which is the perfect setting for Ezekiel 16. Ezekiel puts it this way. He says, when you were born, you were thrown out in a field and left to die, like on this garbage heap behind me. And then I walked by, this is God speaking, and I saw you kicking about in your blood. No one had cleaned you. Your umbilical cord was not yet cut. And basically, he describes a picture of God picking up this little girl, washing her, dressing her. She growing up and to be a beautiful woman. He says she becomes a queen. She becomes famous all over the nations. And a really beautiful picture. The picture in the Old Testament of God's people is always a bride, or often a bride, and the bride of God. Except this is how the story turns. You trusted in your beauty, you became arrogant, and you turned to prostitution. You prostituted yourself, you turned away from your husband, which is God. And with the Babylonians and the Egyptians and the Assyrians, you basically were intimate. You basically became their lovers. And this is the picture, the sorry picture that God gives. And so God basically says to them, so I'm going to hand you over to them. They are going to abuse you. They're going to strip you naked. And then when all that is said and done, I'm going to make a covenant with you. And I'm going to take you back again. That's that picture. A very graphic picture of the adultery of the people of Israel. The next picture that Ezekiel gives is that of 3 shoots and 2 eagles. Now, if you look behind me, it's amazing that you can see such poverty and such beauty side by side. There's Table Mountain. I've often seen beautiful birds coming off those mountains. And so his next picture is about 2 eagles. The first eagle represents Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar comes in and whips out a shoot off the top of a tree. That's the picture that's given. An eagle swooping down, taking that shoot of a tree, which represents a king of Israel. Drags him off and plants him in Babylon. The second eagle then comes and plucks up a shoot. And that's the eagle representing King Pharaoh, or the king of Egypt, or Pharaoh. And a shoot is then planted in Judah. But both these shoots become vines, they wither, they fade, and they come to nothing. But this is how it ends. There's a great deal of hope because these 2 kings represent, the first king represents Jehoiakim, who was the king that Nebuchadnezzar took back into Babylon. The second is Zedekiah, the one who Nebuchadnezzar appointed in Judah, but who eventually turned his back on Nebuchadnezzar. Remember him? Both those kings came to nothing. But this is how this chapter ends. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I myself will take a shoot from the very top cedar and plant it. What's he talking about here? Well, he's basically saying God himself is going to come. You see, these kings, Jehoiakim and Zedekiah, were of the line of David. And it looked like the promises over the Messiah, the promises over Israel were going to come to naught. And they were going to get snuffed out with these 2 big eagles doing what they want with these kings. But God says, no, listen, I'm bigger than Nebuchadnezzar. I'm bigger than Pharaoh. I'm going to take a king. I'm going to plant him. And this is the Messiah. This is Jesus. And it ends with this promise. I myself, God says, will take a shoot from the very top cedar and I will plant it. And my promises will come through it. And so the great promise that Ezekiel reminds us here is that the promises of God are not at fault. The people were at fault. But God himself made a plan to make sure that his promises would be outworked for us and through Jesus.